March 18th, 2025, a woman stormed into a police station in Meerut, India. Her eyes bloodshot from crying, her face red with rage. Behind her, a younger woman stumbled in, sobbing, her head hanging low, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. The older woman slammed her hands on the desk and said a sentence that would shock the officers. "My daughter killed her husband." The daughter, Muskan Rastogi. The name would soon be known nationwide. This was no ordinary murder. This was a case that would eventually lead to one of the most twisted, gruesome, and mysterious stories of occultism, betrayal, and a concrete tomb. This is the Muskan Rastogi case. Muskan was just 27 years old when her secret began to unravel. Her husband, Saurabh Rajput, had been reported missing since March 4th, but now here she was being dragged in by her own mother, confessing. And not just confessing alone, another name came up, Sahil Shukla, Muskan's boyfriend. The police asked the obvious, where is the body? Muskan didn't say much. She just asked them to follow her back to the house she shared with her husband. At first, the house looked normal. There was no blood, no smell, no sign of a body, until Muskan silently walked over to a large water drum filled to the top with cement. She pointed at it, said nothing, and everyone in the room instantly knew what they were about to find. Police called for backup. They tried everything, cutting tools, drills, hammers, but after 2 hours, they couldn't get through the solidified cement. They had to send the entire drum to the mortuary. There, using a marble cutter, they finally broke it open. Inside was what was left of Saurabh Rajput, so decomposed that an autopsy was almost impossible. The exact cause of death, still unknown. So now the only answers came from Muskan and Sahil, and their confessions would send chills down India's spine. But to understand what led to this horrifying act, let's go back before the murder. Saurabh Rajput was a merchant navy officer, hardworking, independent. He fell in love with Muskan and proposed, even though his family disapproved. When they objected to the marriage, he made a painful choice. He cut ties with his parents. He married Muskan in 2016. Eventually, his family reached out to mend things, but when Saurabh quit the Navy to settle down with Muskan, it caused yet another rift. They parted ways again. But while his own family turned their backs, Muskan's family embraced him completely. Her mother, Kavita, adored him, called him the son she never had. Their life looked perfect, a cozy rented home, a baby girl born in 2019. But behind the perfect photos and smiling faces, something darker was brewing. In 2019, the same year their daughter was born, Muskan reconnected with Sahil Shukla, a former classmate and her old school crush. They started chatting through a WhatsApp group. It began as casual conversations, then flirty messages, then secret meetings. Soon, they were full-blown lovers, married in secret behind Saurabh's back. They used Snapchat to hide their tracks, deleting chats right after they were sent. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. One day, the landlord saw a strange man sneaking into the house while Saurabh was away. He peeked in, and he saw Muskan and Sahil together. He told Saurabh. Saurabh confronted Muskan. At first, she denied it, but something inside him knew the truth. He wanted to leave her, but then he saw his daughter's face, and he stayed. In 2013, Saurabh made a hard decision. He moved to London, trying to rebuild a life and support his family from afar. He got a job at a bakery, working long hours, and sent around 1 lakh rupees, just over $1,100 back to India every month. Muskan was supposed to use that money for herself and their daughter, but she didn't. Muskan's life had changed. Under Sahil's influence, she started gambling, partying, and using drugs. She and Sahil used Saurabh's money to buy marijuana and live it up together. Every time Saurabh sent money, Muskan would message Sahil. And Sahil, he was deep into illegal betting, especially on IPL cricket matches. He'd use Saurabh's hard-earned money to place bets with underground bookies, currently under investigation. And when he won, he'd fund trips to Rishikesh, Dehradun, and lavish dates with Muskan. The thing is, Sahil didn't even have a real job. According to neighbors, he lived off gambling and the money Muskan funneled to him. That was their entire lifestyle, built on lies, theft, and betrayal. And Sahil was no mastermind. He gambled recklessly. Sometimes he won big, but most of the time, luck wasn't on his side. The money Muskan funneled from Saurabh would disappear in hours, lost to IPL bets, expensive nights out, drugs, and the more he lost, the more anxious they both became. Because Saurabh, he wasn't stupid. He was bound to notice that money was vanishing, that his wife's lifestyle had suddenly taken a sharp turn toward the extravagant. And if he found out the real reason why, that Muskan was doing drugs with her secret lover while caring for their child, that the money he sent home every month was being used to fund a secret second marriage, things would turn really messy. So Muskan made a choice. She decided to silence her husband for good. What happened next was pulled straight from a nightmare. During interrogation, both Muskan and Sahil confessed. They admitted to planning Saurabh's murder months in advance, as early as November 2024. That's when Muskan went to a local convenience store and bought 2 knives for just 800 rupees. She practiced stabbing over and over using a cardboard box as her dummy. But something kept bothering her. What if the knives weren't enough? What if Saurabh didn't die quickly? What if he woke up and reported them? So, to be safe, she bought a razor blade. Some say it was a box cutter as backup. And then came February 24th, 2025. Saurabh came home from London, excited to surprise his wife for her birthday. He even brought money, 1 crore rupees, over $120,000, to gift his loved ones. Muskan took her share, but she had other plans for it. March 3rd, the night before the murder, Muskan tucked her daughter into bed. She sang her a lullaby, kissed her goodnight, then walked into the next room to prepare for murder. At 11:49 p.m., Saurabh was out riding with a friend. He came home just after midnight. Waiting for him was his beautiful wife and his favorite meal, Loki ke kofti. She told him it was made by his mother, but she had spiked it with sedatives, possibly antidepressants Saurabh regularly took, enough to put him into a deep, heavy sleep. And once he was unconscious, she picked up the phone. Sahil, her secret husband, walked through the door. The killing was brutal. They stabbed Saurabh 3 times in the chest with the butcher knife Muskan had bought months ago. There was blood everywhere, but Saurabh didn't scream, didn't fight. The sedatives did their job. Still, Muskan wasn't taking chances. She grabbed the razor blade, leaned over his body, and slit his throat. Blood sprayed across the room. But that was it. No movement, no pulse. Saurabh was dead. And the killers, they smiled because now the threat was gone. But a new problem emerged. Where do you hide a body? They couldn't dig a grave. Someone would notice. So they looked around the house and found the perfect vessel, a large water barrel with a sealable lid. They tried stuffing Saurabh's body inside whole, but it wouldn't fit, so they did the unthinkable. They dismembered him into 15 pieces, and after all that, they left what was once Saurabh, now in pieces, in the bathroom overnight. The next morning, they bought 50 kilograms of cement. They poured it over the body parts in the barrel, and once it was full, they sealed it shut. Muskan washed up, went to check on her daughter. The child looked up and asked, "Where is Papa?" Muskan smiled. "Let's go to Grandma's house." She told neighbors she and her husband were going on a second honeymoon to Himachal Pradesh. Then she locked the house and walked away. After killing her husband and sealing his remains in a concrete-filled drum, Muskan didn't look back. Instead, she picked up Saurabh's phone. She used it to text his family, to respond to friends, to make them all believe that Saurabh was still alive, that he was just off on a lovely vacation, enjoying time with his wife. She even messaged his sister, pretending everything was fine, as if her husband wasn't lying dead in pieces inside a sealed barrel in their home bathroom. And then she ran. She and Sahil booked a 12-day trip, a luxury escape across Shimla, Manali, and Kasol. The police later found out they booked a private taxi from Shivatoran Travels in Meerut, paying 54,000 rupees for the ride, driven by a man named Ajab Singh. They didn't travel as criminals. They traveled like lovers. They checked into upscale hotels. They posed as husband and wife. They celebrated Holi, danced in nightclubs, drank alcohol, and took pictures, smiling. In one recovered audio recording, Muskan is heard calmly instructing a driver to deliver a cake to her hotel room, like nothing had ever happened. Police later found videos from the trip. The couple looked relaxed, blissfully happy, even though they had just murdered a man in cold blood and left his body rotting in their house. But while they were playing newlyweds in the mountains, Saurabh's real family was panicking. They had been trying to reach him, but there was no reply. And the few updates they did see on social media were odd. His photos were posted, but he was never actually in them. So finally, on March 17th, after almost 2 weeks of silence, Saurabh's sister and brother filed a missing persons report. Muskan and Sahil returned to Meerut that same day. And when they walked back into the house, the barrel was still there. And for the first time, they started to feel the fear creeping in. What if someone noticed the smell? What if the cement started to break down? What if someone looked inside? They began to panic. Muskan even messaged friends, asking for advice. Where could she dispose of some puja materials? But no one gave a solid answer. So on March 18th, they called a group of laborers. They told them, "We need help moving a drum." The workers tried everything, but it was too heavy to lift. And as they fumbled with the lid, it popped open. That's when they saw it. Solid concrete and a foul smell, the kind that only comes from something dead. They didn't ask questions. They didn't wait for money. They just left. But later that day, one of the laborers contacted the police. He reported what he saw and what he suspected: murder. When Muskan realized the laborers had left without saying a word, she knew it was over. She panicked. She couldn't think straight. In desperation, she ran to her parents' house. On the way there, she even considered trying to pin the murder on Saurabh's sister and her husband, telling herself maybe she could still escape this if she twisted the story just right. When she arrived, she broke down in front of her mother. "My husband is dead," she sobbed. "He was stabbed by his family." But her father knew something wasn't right. He pressured her, pushed her to tell the truth. And finally she did. She told them everything. Her mother, Kavita, stood frozen in shock. This was the man she had called her son, a man who left his own family behind just to be with her daughter. And now he was gone because of that daughter. Kavita began to cry, not just for Saurabh, but for the daughter she no longer recognized. And then, without a word, she grabbed Muskan's hand. She dragged her out of the door. Kavita marched into the Meerut police station, clutching her daughter by the wrist. The officers looked up, confused. But before anyone could ask a question, she told the police everything. The horrific things her daughter had done to her son-in-law. Muskan Rastogi and Sahil Shukla were finally arrested. And when the news broke, India erupted. People couldn't believe the cruelty. They couldn't wrap their heads around how someone could murder a husband, chop his body into pieces, seal him in concrete, then dance in nightclubs like nothing happened. So when the couple arrived at the Chief Judicial Magistrate's Court on March 19, 2025 for their first hearing, all hell broke loose. An angry mob of lawyers had started assembling in the court complex. When Muskan and Sahil stepped out of the police van, surrounded by officers, chaos erupted. A group of furious lawyers pushed through the barricades, grabbed Sahil's clothes, tried to punch and hit them, targeting their heads. Police had to form a human shield, locking arms around the accused as the mob surged forward. Eventually, the pair made it into the courtroom, where the magistrate ruled they would be sent to 14 days of judicial custody to face further police interrogation. And it was inside those interrogations that more disturbing truths began to unravel. First came the sedatives. When asked where she got the pills used to drug Saurabh before the murder, Muskan confidently told police, "I bought them from Usha Medical Store in Meerut." But antidepressants like the ones she used, they're prescription only. Piyush Sharma, Meerut's drug inspector, told the media that police had launched an investigation, pulling 2 years' worth of medical sales records to verify whether Muskan used a legitimate prescription or faked one. Turns out she had shown the pharmacist a digital photo of a prescription, allegedly Saurabh's. There's now suspicion that she tweaked or forged it to get the medication. The medical store insisted they followed all protocols. If Muskan manipulated the document, they claimed they were just as much in the dark as anyone else. But that wasn't the only revelation. The deeper investigators dug, the wider the case grew. Police identified 9 individuals possibly connected to the murder. 4 shopkeepers, a doctor, a pharmacist, a cab driver, a tenant, and an account holder who received money transfers from Sahil. At least 7 of these people had already been questioned, but none of the new details came close to what Muskan confessed next. Apparently, Sahil hadn't wanted to kill Saurabh. Not at first. Muskan had manipulated him into doing it. And how? She convinced Sahil that his dead mother was speaking to him through a Snapchat account. Yes, you heard that right. Muskan pretended to be Sahil's deceased mother. She used an anonymous Snapchat profile, sending messages that urged him to protect Muskan, to be strong, and worst of all, hinted that killing Saurabh was what his mother would have wanted. Sahil, already vulnerable, already broken, believed it. Sahil didn't come from a criminal background. He was born into a loving, normal family, and he was especially close to his mother, whom he adored. But when she died, everything changed. His father remarried quickly to someone Sahil never connected with, and the grief swallowed him. Soon after, Sahil turned to drugs, then gambling, then Muskan. And she twisted that grief, weaponized it, used it to turn Sahil into an accomplice in the brutal murder of her husband. Muskan knew just how much Sahil adored his late mother. She created multiple Snapchat accounts, posing as Sahil's dead mother, sending messages that, over time, broke down whatever hesitation he had. One message told him, "Shakti will protect you." Another spoke of Gudiya and Bahu, his doll, his daughter-in-law. That Bahu was Muskan. But it was this message that truly shook investigators. "Your Bahu has passed. She is now a part of the family. I am very happy. Now no one can defeat our Bahu. He," which refers to Saurabh here, "is destined to die at Muskan's hands." It wasn't just manipulation, it was orchestration, a slow and steady psychological dismantling. Sahil wasn't just convinced to help, he was made to believe that fate had chosen him, that killing Saurabh was divine will. Police initially saw this case as another story of infidelity and greed, but then something strange surfaced. Tantric markings, symbols were found in the crime scene. Ritualistic traces. Was this just coincidence or something far more disturbing? That's when Muskan's mother came forward. Before the murder, Muskan had become increasingly secretive. She told her mother, "Mommy, if anything ever happens to me, everything's in my phone and my diary." But no one ever saw that diary, not even her mother. She also mentioned something cryptically, Plan B. No one knew what it meant. No one ever found out because Muskan never explained it. Just before the murder, Muskan sent her mother a message. "Mommy, do you know Kern Piszczynski?" Her mother was confused, so she asked her own father, Muskan's grandfather. He paused, then added, "Be careful. If she got involved in something occult, it could be dangerous for the entire family. The internet is full of half-truths. Without a proper guru, knowledge can be deadly." And just like that, something clicked. What was Muskan trying to do? Why was she invoking the name of Kern Piszczynski on the day of the murder? For those unfamiliar, Kern Piszczynski is a mysterious and feared figure in Indian occultism. Unlike other malevolent spirits, she isn't just there to harm. She's believed to whisper secrets, hidden knowledge into the ears of those who summon her. Past, present, even the future. Kern means ear. Piszczynski refers to a female spirit. Some tantric practitioners seek her out to uncover things no one else could possibly know. But she's not to be taken lightly, because if summoned incorrectly or disrespected, it's said she can bring madness, chaos, or even death. So now, a new theory has emerged. Was Muskan dabbling in the occult? Did she believe Kern Piszczynski had chosen her, that she was meant to kill her husband? Or was it just a story she fed herself and Sahil to justify the blood on her hands? Was it delusion or design? Online, people began to piece things together. They went back to footage from Muskan and Sahil's trip, videos of the Holi festival, showing them dancing, laughing, covered in colors. But other details didn't add up. At their hotel in Himachal, staff later reported that the couple barely ever left the room. They even refused cleaning service, locking the doors and keeping to themselves day after day. Some believed it wasn't just a romantic getaway. It was a ritual, an attempted summoning. They called her a witch. Others had a different theory. Maybe she didn't believe in black magic. Maybe she was just deeply mentally ill. A woman consumed by paranoia, hearing imagined whispers that Saurabh would find out about her affair, that he'd stop her drug use, that he would take everything away. And so she struck first. But here's the question many now ask. If Muskan was truly mentally unwell, if she wasn't in her right mind when the murder happened, would she be given a lighter sentence? So far, no official diagnosis has been revealed. What makes this case even more tragic is the reaction from Muskan's own family. Unlike the families of most accused murderers who usually plead for mercy, Muskan's parents have cut her off completely. Her mother, through tears, said in an interview, "My daughter's sin is unforgivable. She has no right to live. She should die the way she killed her husband." Her father said the same. They both pleaded with the court to sentence Muskan and Sahil to death by hanging. Their grief for Saurabh, whom they once called son, had completely erased any love left for the daughter they raised. Now Muskan and Sahil wait behind bars, both at Chaudhary Charan Singh Jail in Meerut. Both were reported to have stopped eating, surviving on water alone. Eventually, both were transferred to the jail's de-addiction center, where they began medical detox. And that's when another bombshell dropped. Monday, April 7th, 2025, Muskan tested positive for pregnancy. Saurabh's family, meanwhile, were left watching in silence, grieving not only the son they lost, but now trying to gain custody of Saurabh's first daughter and debating whether to take in the unborn child as well. Looking at the timeline, it could be Sahil's. Sahil's family, fractured and distant, had never visited either. But if the child was Saurabh's blood, his family said they would raise the baby as their own. So for now, there is no answer. All we can do is wait for the court's ruling, for the truth to come out, if it ever does. Was this a case of greed and an affair gone wrong? A woman's descent into madness, or a failed occult ritual fueled by desperation and delusion? Let me know what you think in the comments below. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.